Hey, I'm Alex Roman, Executive Editor for Metro Magazine, and welcome back to METROspectives. My guest today is Doug Wright, President of Forest River Bus and Van. Today, Wright joins me to discuss his new position, opportunities that he sees ahead in the industry, and much more. Thanks again for joining us. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy the conversation. And today we have Doug Wright with us. Doug, how's it going?
It's going great. It's going great, Alex. I appreciate the time to speak with you.
Great, thanks. New slot there at Forest River and taking over for David Wright, who had been there as long as I've been with the company, which is almost close to 20 years now. Can you talk a little bit about coming into the bus sector and kind of some of your plans and that sort of thing, as far as, taking Forest River to the next level from where David left it?
Absolutely, and I'll give you sort of a try to get Reader's Digest here version of my background. Although some of your listeners are probably wondering what Reader's Digest is. So, yeah, I spent I've been with Forest River about 6 years now, and I came to Forest River. The vast majority of my background is in the automotive industry. I had a car business. I had a car dealership for a while. Actually, that was the first time I worked with my brother David. We owned a car dealership together way back in the 90s.
Okay.
Our father had a Mercedes-Benz dealership, so been in the car business a long time. Uh, Pretty much about 2001, I started doing some work with Toyota and Lexus, and spent about 15 years working with them before I joined Forest River. So that background with Toyota and Lexus shaped a lot of the way what I sort of bring to the table now here at Forest River.
Mhm.
Uh, when you look at Toyota and Lexus specifically, they're basically focused on three things: continuous improvement, always trying to get better; dealer relations, having the best dealer network and making sure their dealers are successful;
Right.
and then the customer experience. And so those three things, sort of that's where I come from, and that's where I'm bringing to Forest River now in my new role as president of the bus and van divisions.
Great. And can you talk a little bit about getting up to speed? I mean, you've already been with the company for six years, but what's it been like getting up to speed? Filling in for David's slot there, and really starting to implement some of the things that you would like to see at the company.
Yeah, it's been an interesting way to look at, I'll look at our industry, and then I'll sort of segue into where I'm taking the company.
Yeah.
Is, COVID was this great demarcation line for our business. And
Hmm.
I know it's a great demarcation line for a lot of businesses, but for us specifically, it was a great demarcation line because if you go back to pre-COVID, Forest River existed, and we had on the shuttle bus side of the business about 40% market share. The Rev Group, which was basically Champion and El Dorado, they had about 30-some% market share. And then you had, Coach and Equipment, Turtle Top, and some other ones that were out there.
Hmm.
And then when COVID happened, right? COVID happened really March of 2019, right? 2019, right? 2020 or 2019?
2020. Yeah.
2020, my bad. Sorry. And then in April of 2020, we purchased the Rev Group.
Right.
So it's interesting that all of a sudden, April of 2020, right during COVID, we purchased our major competitor. So we all of a sudden had 70% market share, and nobody wanted to buy buses.
Right.
So, nobody's getting on a bus because of COVID. So nobody wants to own a bus, and we have 70% market share. And so you go through this COVID time period, and then you come out of COVID, and there's a chip issue, so you can't get chassis.
Right.
So you have all these things occurring, and you finally get sort of through all of those things. And now we get into a period of time where it's like, okay, the market has now shifted and changed. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of other ways to transport people that are now more ubiquitous than they were pre-COVID.
Right.
Things like
Absolutely.
Lyft and Uber. Vans are now much more the mobility vans, which we have it. But all these things are now have changed the industry. Prices went up on everything, including shuttle buses. People didn't use their shuttle bus for a period of time during COVID, so now they're keeping it longer. So the market totally has changed. And This year is probably the first year we can say is the sort of normal, what I think is going to be the post-COVID year.
Okay.
Now that allows me in my new position to say, okay, well, what do we want our company to look like in this
Mhm.
new era? And we are now, we're a large organization. And with any being the market share that we have, it's very easy to have people point fingers and say, oh, you're the big guy, so now you're going to take advantage of everybody else. And, you can do whatever you want because you're so big. And it's an interesting way that they think about it, because when I came into this role, I took things a totally different way. And what I thought about was, okay, we build shuttle buses, we build mobility vans, and through Collins, we build type A school buses.
Right.
And what occurred to me is our vehicles transport the most vulnerable members of our society: children, seniors, and those with mobility challenges. And so we have a tremendous responsibility to those people. We have a responsibility to make sure that our product is built the best it can be. If it breaks down, which we're not perfect, we can get it on the road as quickly as possible so that people can take it to their jobs, to the doctor, to wherever they need to go.
Mhm.
And that is what I have stressed to our entire organization, is the responsibility that we have. So when our welders are welding, or our painters are painting, or our customer service team is dealing with a warranty issue, their first reaction is, this could be a bus that my grandmother is going to be riding on, or my friend John who's in a wheelchair. So that responsibility then means that we're going to produce the product a certain way, and we're going to take care of our customers a certain way. So that's sort of the philosophy that I bring to say, this is what we can do, and we can do it because we're the biggest, and we're also going to be the best.
Absolutely. And can you talk, I mean, you're right. The models have changed a little bit, which probably opens up some opportunities for Forest River. Can you talk a little bit about those opportunities maybe that are there post-COVID that weren't there before, and maybe some innovations and things that you're working on, moving forward into this kind of hate to say new normal because that's so overplayed, but kind of the new phase of bus building and bus buying.
Yeah, and one of the things is this idea of continuous improvement, which I took from my days at Toyota and Lex, working at with Toyota and Lexus, that I've instituted here. And so, some of the things we've made literally 40 changes to the bus itself in the 4 months that I've been in this role.
Wow.
And we're continuing to do some things. We're going to be making some announcements after the first of the year about a new paint process. We've expanded our paint facility by over 50%.
Mhm.
But we've also when we look at how to make the product better, it's not just how to make the vehicle better, because at the end of the day, it's a shuttle bus, and there's not a lot of changes you can make to a shuttle bus itself.
Right.
There's going to be things that change. As I always say, the chassis changes, right? The chassis gets better in the sense of, even though some people think, well, the chassis hasn't changed in years. Well, crash avoidance, all those types of things that are added to cars are also added to the chassis, right?
Mhm.
And we have to be aware of those changes, by the way, because we need to make our own changes. So, for example, Ford institutes on the bumper crash avoidance technology so that if something's in the way, the vehicle stops. Well, the first thing then becomes to us is like, okay, how do we add a bike rack if that's going
Right.
to interfere, right? So we have
Right.
to make changes based on that. We also have to make changes and improvements that we think will help from the customer service side, or even the dealer side.
Mhm.
And so, for example, our vehicles, when they break down or have issues, they have to be maintained. Technicians at a dealership, or in some cases, a large transit organization, they have to maintain the vehicle. Well, historically, when we sell a vehicle, like most manufacturers, we have we take a thumb drive and we put on it the maintenance schedule, all the schematics, and we put it in the bus so that when the technician's going to maintain the bus, has to do something, he can just take that thumb drive.
Right.
Well, the reality is, we all know what happens. From the moment it's sold,
That thing gets lost immediately.
it's gone, right? So we try to eliminate these pain points. So what we did is say, well, wait a minute, why don't we put a QR code on the bus? And so it's like scan the QR code and there's everything, right? So it's like little things like that we can do to improve the product. So those are some of the things we're doing. We're trying to get it, we're looking to get into some new markets. We recently bought LA West, which is a luxury van builder
Okay.
down in the Carolinas. And we closed on that this past year. And so the sort of luxury part of our business that we have not been in since pre-COVID. We're looking to get back in. We'll have an announcement sometime after the first of the year with that too. So we got some things in the works as far as new products, and we're always challenging our vendors and our partners that supply us with products to come up with better ways to make their product. So we're also doing that as well.
Yeah. And you guys also, you had talked a little bit about, not being perfect. So obviously, warranties come into play and that sort of thing. Can you talk a little bit about your program, bringing warranties, kind of all encompassing and how that kind of changes the game for operators and for you guys?
Yeah, we've had for quite a few years now this 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty.
Mhm.
And it's been out there. We didn't offer it on all of our products, like the Rev products we didn't offer it on. And there was always some confusion out there. What does it cover? And so we are making a huge push now to make everybody aware because our 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty is different than everybody else's. Our 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty covers every single thing on the bus. And what I mean by that is some of our competitors will just have a 5100 on the structural components, the things that they do to the bus. What we're saying is if you add anything to the bus, which everybody does, a lift, right?
Right.
Some sort of camera system, whatever it happens to be, if we install it, we're going to cover it for 5100, regardless of what the supplier is going to cover. So the supplier's only going to cover it for a year. We're going to cover it for the rest. Nobody else does that. And we do it because we feel our customers deserve that. They deserve to have a vehicle that's covered. And it gets back to what we really feel about our responsibility. If this bus goes down, it needs to get on the road quickly. And the end user and the dealer can't be like, well, is this going to be covered? It's not going to be covered. They have to know that they can fix the product and know that we're going to cover it because we stand behind that.
Right.
And it's interesting. We do it on all the retail. All our retail buses, 5100. On the transit side, with any kind of bid, we do what the bid spec says. So if the bid spec is 1 year, we don't offer we don't say, well, we're going to do 5 year if our competitors are only going to offer 1 and we can lose the bid.
Right.
So what we tell these transit agencies is add it to the spec, 5100. And sometimes the frustration I feel, to be quite honest with you with this, is that some transit agencies will say, well, if we do that, then we won't get other bus manufacturers to bid on it because they won't want to offer it.
Right.
And my reaction is, don't you want the best product for your customer?
Right.
And if the best product is a 5100, and I know it's a little self-serving, but the reality is, we've already decided we're going to we're going to put that cost, we're going to eat that cost because we feel it's what our customers deserve. They deserve to have everything covered in the bus. And so everything is covered with the warranty. The other thing that we're doing with the warranty, because we thought was a pain point, is historically what ends up happening in the past is if you have, let's say, Braun, for example, the lifts, right? Braun provides lifts. And let's say you had a problem with your lift, right? And you got to say, okay, you call us. It's like, oh, it's covered under warranty. So what happens is you then have to call Braun and you have to deal with Braun on the warranty.
Right.
And we're saying, well, wait a minute. That time period between you having to talk to Braun as opposed to you having just to talk to us means the bus can be down for a period of time.
Right.
That's unacceptable because if the bus is down, as I always use, grandma can't get to the grocery store, right? John in the wheelchair can't get to his doctor's appointment. So we have to reduce that. How do we do that? Well, what we're doing right now, and it's a process, is we're taking and saying, okay, we're going to handle all warranty claims in-house. We're not going to tell you to go call Braun. We're going to handle that. Now, it's a process because we got to figure out, and what we've been trying to determine is, so how many calls does Braun get? How many calls do some of our other vendors get? So we can staff up accordingly.
Right.
But we are working on that because, once again, it's in the best interest of our customers to get that bus back on the road as quickly as possible. And so everything we do revolves around that.
Interesting. Interesting that you want to take on the onus of dealing with other vendors.
Well, really, it gets back to, I feel we have to deliver the best customer service. I know if we control it, then I know what that customer service is.
Right.
And as soon as you get outside of us, and I'm not complaining about any of our suppliers,
Right.
but I don't know, right? I don't know what kind of customer service they're providing. I can't control that, but I can control internally. And one of the things I took from working for Lexus for so many years is what Lexus does really well is they create a great experience for their customer. And
Mhm.
that great experience they can create, and they do the things that need to be done to do that. And that's what we need to do here. And we can, because, once again, if we're going to be the biggest, we have a huge responsibility that comes with to be that, to do these things.
Right. Right. And I mean, looking at it too, I mean, they're building a relationship with the bus manufacturer. They're working through the building of the bus and all that sort of thing, testing the bus, getting it all, up to speed and ready to go. They're working with you that entire time, but may not necessarily be working with the suppliers that entire time. So that relationship that's formed is a little bit stronger than, say, just involving any third party, whether it be a good supplier or something that always has issues or whatever, right?
Absolutely. And that's the reality too, is that if you, as a, you might have one bus and you have an issue and you call one of these suppliers, well, they're dealing with you, whether they say it's covered under warranty or not. That's one. If we call them, now they have to think twice about, they're gonna say yes, because we represent thousands
Right.
of customers. So it allows us to make sure that things, because at the end of the day, if you're a customer and XYZ doesn't cover something, you're not blaming XYZ, you're blaming Forest River.
Right. Yeah, and that's that. Yeah, I was just going to say that. I mean, just for the record, your suppliers are great,
Yes,
but also,
100%.
for that relationship, it's very beneficial for your customers and good for you to maintain that contact, throughout that 100,000 period.
Yeah, and we have great relationships with our suppliers. It just, and it gets back to, we want to make sure we treat everybody, whether it's a dealer or whether our suppliers, as true partners, and that we're working together to make improvements to the product, make improvements to customer service, and they're aware of what we're doing on this. And so because if we're going to take this in house, we also need to work with them to make sure that, okay, there's going to be times when we have to transfer a customer to you because it's not necessarily a warranty, but it's a technical question that they have that you guys are better apt to answer. So we have to work through this, and it's a process. It's not something that happens overnight. So we're doing
Right.
it on a test case with certain dealers and certain suppliers, but that's ultimately where we want to get to, because it makes everything better for that, ultimately, for our dealers and for our end users.
All right, great. Thanks, Doug. I have a few more questions for you, and I guess it's getting into the manufacturing of the buses itself. How is Forest River dealing with customization and manufacturing those products, having taken into account what the customer's demands are?
Yeah. First and foremost, we try to make the build as simple as possible.
Mm.
And the reason for that is we want it to be easy to maintain, right? We want the technicians that are out there at the dealer or the trans agency, the easier it is to maintain the product, then the quicker they can get it back on the road.
Mm.
So then it becomes, okay, so what are we going to, so the build itself, we try to do that with. But now you have a lot of items, different products that everybody wants to add.
Right.
Oh, I want to add this. I want to add that. I want to add this camera. I want to add this video equipment. And so the first thing we have to decide is, with everything, is, do we want to do that? So we have to evaluate anything that we're going to add to the bus. And we do
Mm.
it based on four principles. Pretty straightforward. First, the stability of the company. Is the company that wants us to offer this, or they've come to us and say, you should put this on the bus, have they been around a while? Right? I don't, we're offering a 5/100 warranty on that product. we want to make sure the company's been around for at least 5 years,
Right.
right?
Right.
It's like they have to be, so stability is important. Support, if something does go wrong, are they going to be available to support this product? So that's important to us. The third one is simplicity. We can't add something that's going to make everything much more complicated. And then once again, make the maintenance of this more complicated so it doesn't get back on the road quickly.
Right.
And then the value, not only from a cost standpoint, but the total cost of ownership, what does that look like? So that's how we evaluate. Now, at the end of the day, people want things on their bus, and we try to, through our dealers, be as accommodative as possible for anything that's added. And in most cases, we don't have any issues, but that's how we try to evaluate whatever we're doing is on those sort of four principles.
Yeah. And you talked a bit at the top, and we're familiar with you kind of folding in Rev and that sort of thing. Can you talk about now, 70% market share, that's a lot more builds. Can you talk a little bit about some of the issues facing bus manufacturing right now?
I mean, our biggest challenge, which we've started to get through, was the integration of these of the Rev group, right?
Mhm.
And it was so we were because we were integrating it at a time when nobody was buying buses. Then we were integrating it at a time when we didn't have any chassis, and so now it's like what we did is we tried to simplify the builds so that each of the different brands are fairly similar. There's some differences, but most of them are fairly similar.
Right.
And it gets back to that if it's simple, it's built here, it's built on the same line, many of the same components. So if there's a problem, it's very easy to fix and get it back on the road. And the example I use is, if you have a 12-year-old Champion bus, we didn't build it.
Right.
And so now, and the reality is when we got this acquisition through with the Rev Group, we didn't get all the data we should have on all of the components. So now you have a 12-year-old bus that something's wrong with. We have to figure out where'd you buy that window from? Because you just broke a window and we got to replace it.
Gotcha.
The manufacturer of that window may be out of business by now. And so it's really that's a huge challenge because we want to help the dealer and ultimately the end user get this bus back on the road, but we're dealing with that. So our process now is designed to say, you know what? If one of our buses has an issue, whether it's a Champion, it's an Eldorado, Starcraft, StarTrain, Lavelle, it doesn't matter. So many of the components are similar. We can get it out to the customer immediately to fix to get them back on the road. So that's an internal challenge. I think externally, the challenge that I feel in the industry, especially on the transit side, is the sort of commoditization of bids, where they look at just the lowest price rather than look at the bigger picture of what is provided.
Right.
And I say that not because I want to, once again, people say, well, it's self-serving. Well, if I'm giving you the best product at the best value, then it might be self-serving, but it's also in the best interest of the customer. And I want the transit agencies to not just look at, okay, that lowest price, and not all of them do, but look at the whole picture. What is actually this customer getting? Some of our competitors that are, they've been in business for less than 2 years, 3 years. It's like, so a little bit different to offer a 5-year warranty when you've only been in business, 3 years. We've been in business, if you combine all the organizations that we own, we've been in business like 40 years.
Right.
We produced over 100,000 buses. We have Altoona testing to the quality of our product. I mean, our product went through Altoona testing with 0 failures.
Right.
And it's like 0 failures. We see some now that are going through with 60 failures. And they still pass, but it's like, because that changed in 2016, the whole pass fail. I don't want to educate your listeners on another time on the whole Altoona testing, but it's like, we have the best product. And we don't listen, we're gonna be competitively priced like everybody else, but we bring to the table, because of our size, certain things. And I think that's to me, that's the industry that needs to look at. And some of our competitors have been around a while. They also have great Altoona tests, the turtle top and coaching equipment. But some of these upstarts that are trying to get into the business, those are the ones that I think that some of our end users and customers need to sort of really, really do some research on. before you sort of jump into, just because price isn't price isn't everything. And
Right.
there's a reason, that Toyota Camry is usually the best-selling car in America for a long time. It's not the cheapest,
Yeah.
but there's other reasons.
Great. Looking at, I mean, this exciting time, I mean, listening to you talk about Forest River, it seems like an exciting time, not only for the company, but for the end user. Can you talk a little bit about kind of some of your strategic initiatives going forward, both short term and long term?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I come to this once again using my Toyota example.
Yeah.
Is I always ask everybody, does anybody know the best-selling car in America in 1983? And inevitably, nobody knows. And now I'll really date myself. 1983, the best-selling car in America was an Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra.
Sure.
In 1983 also happened to be the year that Toyota introduced the previously mentioned Camry.
Mhm.
So I'd asked you in 1983, would you prefer to be an Oldsmobile dealer or a Toyota dealer? You would have inevitably selected Oldsmobile. You're the best-selling car in America. Very quickly, your opinion would have changed because Oldsmobile went out of business and Toyota went on to become what they are today. And so, why did Oldsmobile go out of business? There are a lot of reasons for that. But one of the things that I stress here is that we're not Oldsmobile. We will continue to do what we need to do to make the best product and give the best customer service so that we never become Oldsmobile. So even though we are of a certain size and market share, we're going to continue to improve. And my whole goal, and when you talk about strategy, is we want to build the best bus. I ultimately want, and this may sound, I don't want to come across as arrogant with this, but I want every single person that buys a bus to say, I have to have a Forest River bus.
Right.
Why do they have to have Forest River bus? Because it's the best built bus, best service, best warranty. That's the whole goal. And so everything we do revolves around that. That means we're building, we're going to spend the time, money, and energy to build a better bus. I know we have a reputation in the past that maybe our bus wasn't as good as it should have been. That's changed. We're going to build a better bus. We're going to deliver better customer service. We're going to do those things. That's our strategy. It takes time to get there. We're also going to be doing more in terms of letting people know. We haven't really done a good job of going out to different, whether the trade shows, to talk about us. So in the absence of us being out there, not being on shows like this, people can easily say, "Oh, Forest River, they're just this big bad bully that just does whatever they want."
Right.
No, we're going to be out there telling our story because we have a great story to tell, and we want to make sure that our story is getting out there. We also want to use our strength to help our industry. And I'll use an example. Collins produces Type A school buses, and MFSABs, the white school bus that
Mhm.
is the safest way to transport children. And yet, because of MFSAB's pricing has gotten a little high, like all buses, there are some people who have gone to vans. And vans are not the safest way to transport children. And in some cases, some states have looked the other way because of pricing. You're transporting children.
Right.
We should be able to figure out how you can make sure you get an MFSAB if that's what the law states. And we can use our ability as our size to go to these governments and say, you have to produce an MFSAB. You have to buy that. Even if you're not buying ours, that's the safest way to produce it to transport children. That's what you should be buying.
Right.
Not some of these, we'll buy a Tahoe. And it's like, really? MFSAB, safest way. And so we need to use our size to not only help our end users, but help the industry because that's who we are. And we are part of Berkshire Hathaway. So we have that financial backing to go with it. And we just need to do that better than we have in the past.
Great. Well, Doug, thanks for the time. I really appreciate it. Anything you'd like to add at the end here? Can't say anything, but if you
No,
have anything to
I,
wrap up our
no,
conversation.
all I like to say is, first, I totally appreciate the opportunity to come on. And anytime you want to talk about the bus industry or anything else, I am always available. Happy to come on any of these shows to talk about Forest River, transit industry, whatever you want to talk about. I'm happy to come on, and we'll keep you in the loop on any of the new stuff that we come out with, so you guys are aware of it. But really, really, thank you for having me on. I greatly appreciate it.
Fantastic. Thanks. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.